Coming up on the next edition of Community Insider, we continue our trip through White County as we explore different historical areas in the White County area. Hope you'll stay tuned. That and much more coming up on this edition of Community Insider.
Our mining tools that we have, this is just a great place to collect, and people have donated a lot of things. We have our crosscut saws and of course the different kinds of axes and all that, and trapping tools because they had to do that. And then this room in here, well, first let me show you this right here because these are some famous people. Carl Rowan, he was a syndicated writer for the Washington Post and different other newspapers, was actually born in Ravenscroft. And then Earl Webb was also born, I believe, in Ravenscroft, and he was working in the mines, and the doctor told him that he needed to get out and get some fresh air. So he started playing on the ball team. See, each community had their ball teams, and they played against each other.
Welcome to another edition of Community Insider. Join us as we travel Middle Tennessee, uncovering history and experiencing the adventure of unique stories and events coming to you inside your community.
I'm Linda Mackey with the Bonaire Mountain Historical Society. I'm the president, and this is Carol McIntosh, and she's actually the lady that gave this house to the society as a museum. Yes, this is free. I mean, we have a donation jar that people come in and maybe put some money in, but right now during the winter months we're open just on Saturdays, but during the most of the year we're open Fridays and Saturdays. So yeah, awesome. Volunteer basis, and we always could use some more volunteers. Some contact information if someone's watching would like to maybe find out more information when you guys is open and if you will be open, how can they get a hold of it? Well, we have an email, Bonaire Mountain, let's see, Bonaire MTTNHS, Bonaire Mountain Historical Society, benlomond.net. We're also on Facebook, Bonaire Mountain Historical Society on Facebook, and we are working on a website. We're just now getting that going, but it's at http://BonaireMountainHistoricalSociety.com. So just keep looking on there, and we're coming up with more news on that one. Okay. She's actually the Wharton out up in Pleasant Hill was named after her, and she was a lady doctor back then that rode her mule all over the mountain, and she still actually has a clinic that's still standing. It's not going to stand much longer, but a clinic that she used out in Eastland, Clifty area is still standing. And there's a book about her, Dr. Woman of the Upper Cumberlands, and they have that up at the museum up at Pleasant Hill. But that's where she's basically from, that area.
Now, we was talking earlier about the folks that's actually helped you put this together, stuff like that, and supporters. Talk a little bit about how other people help support this museum too.
Okay, our museum is it's actually owned by the county. When Carol donated it, it was donated to the county, and our county owns 4 museums now, which was great because we had none prior to this, but we now have the Heritage Museum, the Veterans Museum, those are both down in Sparta, the Rock House Museum at the foot of the mountain, and then this museum. And that, of course, the county owns them, but we have a lot of people that help make that go. Herb Sullivan, our county executive, call him county mayor, he has been a great help to us and supporting us in this, and they help us keep this going as far as our bills go, our electric bill and gas bill, that kind of thing. They're just a great help to us. And we have a lot of people like our members, of course, help, but also we have our officers and we have teachers at the school. A principal at the school right now is a great support to us, and you know, that's really needed if we're going to continue educating our children about their community history. If we don't have the school support, then we can't get into the children. So it's been a great thing, because if we don't keep this going with the kids, it's going to die. And I feel like we're a very healthy society, and we're growing, and we wouldn't still be doing this if we weren't, because it's just, it wouldn't be worth it, but it's wonderful. In this room, we have several different emphases. One is the school. This is a model that was actually made by Clyde Randolph and his grandson, and they donated it to us. He had it in his house, and they donated it to us. This is the Ravenscroft School and the soup kitchen. And then the soup kitchen is actually still standing out in Ravenscroft. The school burnt down, though, I think in the early 80s. But every community had a school, and their schoolmasters, of course. And in I think it was 54, 55, they consolidated. After the mine shut down, they had to shut down all the little schools, and so they consolidated them into Bondycroft. The Bond stands for Bonaire, the D stands for Dorset, and the Croft stands for Ravenscroft. So our school actually got its name because of our community history. And this wall over here has a lot of the school teachers and the children and the schools. So there's just this is our school wall, I guess you would call it. Got some of the pictures of the school with the children out front, and it's just neat for people to come and see, you know, they'll look at a picture and say, that was my grandma or my grandpa, and just see that connection. Another thing that was really important and pivotal in the mining operation, like I said, when General Dibble got this started, he had two problems. One was he had no way to get the coal out, and the other was that the people around here were not miners, so he had no experienced workers. So the wall right here is called our immigration wall, and we include the history of how he brought workers over from Scotland, and these were some of the first ones, Archie Smith, Thomas Smith, and the Mackays, David Mackay, and they came here from Scotland. And then we have some of the Czechoslovakians, and they came, here's some Belkas, and of course I can't say these names, but we had a lot of, there was workers from Czechoslovakia and workers from Scotland that came over here and made their impact. They actually started teaching the miners how to mine, and then they became bank bosses. I think Dave Mackay eventually became a rolling store owner because he almost got killed in the mine one day. But he had several boys that came over with him that worked in the mines. And so, and the Smith family, they have a lot of their descendants are people that work in our museum and our officers of our club. Our society, I guess I should say. Here are some of our pictures and our mining tools that we have. This is just a great place to collect, and people have donated a lot of things. We have our cross-cut saws, and of course the different kinds of axes and all that, and trapping tools, because you know they had to do that. And then this room in here. Well, first let me show you this right here, because these are some famous people. Carl Rowan, he was a syndicated writer for the Washington Post and different other newspapers, was actually born in Ravenscroft. And then Earl Webb was also born, I believe, in Ravenscroft, and he was working in the mines, and the doctor told him that he needed to get out and get some fresh air. So he started playing on the ball team. See, each community had their ball teams, and they played against each other. Well, Earl Webb and a few other ones went pro, and he played on a lot of the different teams. And Wrigley, when he was playing on the team here on the mountain, Wrigley Gum Company was one of the sponsors of the team, so they had Chicago Cubs uniforms that they played in. So Rupert was one of them, and Bowman and Cummings, and those were all the millionaires that bought in. Cummings Motors, you know, Rupert, there was a beer baron, Bowman, and so they were all the millionaires. But these are some people that were born and had something to do with the area. And this room basically is the way that you lived, the living quarters. We have different families featured, and some of the community clubs, some of the things that the families would have done, like the embroidery and the quilts that women would have done back then. And we have a musical instrument. They were great musicians. They had the Chautauqua, I think was what it was called, that would come through and do shows. Of course, the women were very instrumental. They had the gardens, and they sent their husbands off with their buckets, you know, and we have the beds when they did the quilting and the mattress ticking. This is an old bed that Carol McIntosh actually donated to us. And I want to tell you about the Beecher England picture over here. When we did one of our first reunions and we were trying to get people to bring pictures, they would bring them, but they didn't want us to touch them. You know, they would have them in their pocketbook and have their pocketbook on their arm, and they'd get them out maybe and show it to us. Well, one woman wouldn't even let us copy her pictures, and this was her daddy. So when we came out with our photo album, her daddy was not in the picture, in the book at all. She said, "Why didn't you put my daddy in the book?" And we said, "You wouldn't let us touch your picture." So our principal felt so bad about it, and she loved this picture so much that she made this stand-up of him, and we just love it. It shows the life of the miner.
If you know some unique stories or you have some questions or comments about the show, we'd love to hear from you. You can contact us at phone number 931-259-1193 or email us at communitynews@bltv.net or visit us on the World Wide Web at www.cnplocaltv.com.